Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Soccer as We Like It, the Man United direction. And today we're celebrating in remembrance of the famous Busby babes who died in the 1958 Munich air disaster. A lot of you who might not know about this is just that a team of United players were flying from a game in Belgrade where they played in European Champions, which is called the Champions League right now, was European Cup back in the day. They played the second leg in Yugoslavia and they died in a plane crash. 7 of the first team players died. There were 44 people on board, 23 survivors, and 21 people died in the crash. Among those 21 people were 7 of the players who played in that game. Man United were known as the Busby Babes because they were put together by Sarmat Busby, who survived the plane crash. So many times he was pronounced dead, but he came back and to build another team in 1968 to win the first European Cup. But we'll get to that. But the most important thing was this was a team of young local lads from within England, and they were the best young kids ever to grace the football field in England in the 1950s. They won literally everything. They were now plying their trade in Europe, trying to meet the big boys because at that time Man United were literally the first team to ever play in Europe. So they were expressing themselves and showing how good they were. They're very talented. They had so many great players. Roger Byrne, Tommy Taylor, Duncan Edwards, Harry Gray. Duncan Edwards was one of the best defenders ever to grace the football field as a defender in England. Tommy Taylor, Roger Byrne, all these are great talented players. But on that fateful day, after playing a 3-3 draw, they won the first leg 2-1 in Manchester. The second leg was a 3-3 draw, and United were qualified to go into the semi-finals of the European Cup that year. The plane had attempted to fly twice. It did not make it. On the third attempt, I think it was the third attempt, it overshot the runway and crashed into through a fence and exploded, and it caused a big fire, which a lot of the players died. That is why on this day, February 6th of every year, since 1958 has been a very dark day in the history of Manchester United because those guys, young, talented, would have conquered the world. But as they always say, some things start but never have an ending. But Sir Matt was able to build another team which included George Best, Bobby Charlton, who survived the plane crash in 58 as a kid, as a 17-year-old, to now captain Man United in 1968 to win a European Cup. And it was a trophy Matt Busby had craved, or to try and put Man United on the map in European football. So him winning that European Cup 10 years after he survived that plane crash, and himself and Bobby Charlton, it meant a lot of them. Some players who survived that plane crash never played football again. It was traumatic. It was psychologically too much for them to even play without the mates who they grew up with. You're talking about academy players growing together, building a team together. They were like brothers. And half of them died. Some of them just couldn't comprehend that and never played football again. So even the cabin crew, the pilot, the co-pilot survived but died a few weeks later. Duncan Edwards, who was one of the greatest players to ever play for Man United, he survived but died 15 days later after that crash. So it was a very painful situation. And these were the days whereby there was very little information. There was radio, there was TV, everything black and white. There was telegrams. A lot of you won't even know. I don't know that because that was way before my time. There was no social media. There was no internet. It was information. So in reference to United's history, that day is a dark day in the history of Manchester United. That day that a team died is titled the Munich air disaster, the Busby Babes, the day a team died, because it was a whole team that died. Literally 7 out of 11 players that played that day disappeared and will never to be seen again. The funny thing was, during the time that the attempted takeoff on the plane, the players, the young men, they didn't see anything wrong with it. They came off the plane, went back on, came off the plane, went back on the third time. But in today's society, it would be a no-go. The plane would not even be allowed to take off. But unfortunately, in those days, the pilot was given the clear. It was rainy, it was slushy, it was snowy, and it overshot the runway. And it needed to get a lot of speed and momentum to lift up, but it overshot and ran through a fence and it caught fire. And that was the end of it. And that was how a team died. We salute them. We hold them high in our hearts. They were the cream of the crop. I mean, absolutely the cream of the crop for English football and Man United history. But we shall continue to remain and bless them and pray for them and pray for their families and keep them in our memory, and may their souls rest in perfect peace. The Busby Babes, 1958, 6th of February, every year. will always remain a quiet day in the history of Manchester United. From me, Tim Russell, Soccer as we like it, the Man United direction. Just talk about the Busby Bay's Munich air disaster, the day a team died in 1958. Today is 62 years in which that tragic event happened. If there's any information you want, just drop us a comment, tell us what you think about it. I know young fans who are too young, if I wasn't even born, but my dad told me about it, I read about it, I learned about it as being a United fan, knowing that this was a tragic incident in the history of Manchester United Football Club. But you know, we move forward. We always remember. We always keep them close. They'll be missed, but never forgotten. They'll always be in our hearts. They'll always remember that badge, the logo. They played for the badge as one of the most gifted, talented footballers ever put together in the history of English football. But they never achieved what they wanted to because the tragedy cut everything short. But as they say, long live the Busby Babes. Glory, glory, Man United. From me, Tim Russell, the host. I shall see you when we play again. Thank you very much. From me, goodbye and good night. May the souls of the Busby Babes rest in perfect peace. Thank you.